Hello, my lovely souls. I want to come on here and talk about this topic. I've talked about it a couple times before, but I feel like I want to go more in depth about it because I've had multiple people asking me about this. People who are married and they meet their twin flame. I made a whole podcast episode on this, so if you haven't checked it out, go on Spotify and look for my podcast. It's called Guidedspace. I also had a client today who brought this up. You know, she's been in a relationship with her boyfriend for like 16 years and she's confused. One thing I will say, I will never try to convince you to leave your partner, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, for your twin flame. Rule number one, you do not leave somebody for somebody else. Okay, I will never try to convince you that. The only thing that I try to convince you, that I try to coach you on, is to do what's in alignment with your soul. Because this journey, this spiritual journey, when you get spiritually activated and you get awakened, you are then going to be inclined and want to better yourself, better your life. And that is to basically follow what your heart tells you, because your heart is led by your intuition. Your ego, okay, is your mind. Your ego is your logical thinking. I just saw 144. Your ego is your logical thinking. It's what makes sense. It's what society has told you. It's social conditioning. And then your intuition, your heart, what lights your soul on fire, right? When you get that giddy excitement of something that you suddenly you're just like, oh my God, I feel like this is right, okay? That is your soul talking to you. When you have those passions, those hobbies, that is your soul talking to you. And when you follow that, when you follow what your heart wants, what your soul wants, what your intuition wants, you are going to be guided in the right direction. Now, when you listen to your ego, your mind, because of like all this conditioning, such as like, everyone else thinks that this person is good for me. We've been together for a very long time. They're thoughtful, they're kind, because that's usually what soulmates are, right? Soulmates that end up usually being platonic, they are good people. They are good on paper. Okay, so normally you have like 80% quality, good qualities from this person. Like my client today, she expressed to me that, she has a hard time leaving because like all of her friends would say, how would you even want to leave him? He's so good to you. He's so nice to you. He's so thoughtful. He's cute. He's this and that, whatever it is. However, those people are not in your heart. Those people, they don't know how you feel. Yes, somebody may be good on paper, but that doesn't mean that that person is good for you, okay? And so what she expressed to me was that even though he is an amazing person, he's a great soul, they do not have a spiritual connection and they do not have a good physical connection. Physical intimacy is kind of like out the window. And what I explained to her is that a lot of times when you don't have a good spiritual connection with somebody, it really impacts your physical connection. It is hard for you to be able to be intimate with that person when you don't have a good spiritual connection. You don't have to be full on woo-woo to be spiritual with them. But if you don't have like this sacred connection, it is hard for you to have intimacy because intimacy is so sacred. And this is exactly why so many relationships that are based on 3D and social conditioning, and they're there just because of codependency for financial reasons. And, you depend on each other for these 3D things. Like I said, for finances and children, like right now, that's like a lot of relationships are falling apart because they're realizing that there's no spiritual connection there. That also ruins the emotional connection between people, because when you don't have that emotional bond, it is hard for you to have intimacy with your loved one, right? It then becomes platonic. And this is why then so many relationships, so many couples then become roommates. And then you end up living with a roommate that was once your lover, and it's just gone bad, right? This is also something that's happening among people who are getting divorced, is that these divorced couples, because everything is so expensive, they're now getting divorced but still living together. and they're roommates. Times are really tough right now. Everything's expensive. You know, the housing market is so high. So people who do want to get divorced, that's another reason why people are having a hard time getting divorced, is because they're like, well, if I get divorced, where am I going to live? Because I can't afford a house on my own. So then they choose to just live together while they're divorced and then try to make ends meet, etc. So I understand. I've been there. This is exactly why I preach on this, because I don't want to see people settling. I don't want to see people, you know, choosing the wrong person. Another thing that a client told me was like, well, I don't want to leave because, like, just because I think maybe the grass is greener on the other side. No, you're not leaving because you think the grass is greener on the other side. I know that relationships are not perfect. It's never going to be 100% wonderful. However, you would be leaving, not for another person, but you would be leaving because you're genuinely not happy. You are not fulfilled. Your contract with this person has ended. It is not improving. And so you have to do what makes your soul happy. You're not staying with this person to make that person happy. If you choose to stay with somebody, it's because you're genuinely happy inside. You're genuinely happy in your soul with this person. Okay, and if you have some issues and you think you can work it out, great. But if you know on a soul level, like, one thing that like, a really good way to tell is, like, we all get really scared to tell somebody that, you know, like, we love our partners, right? It's not to say we don't love our partners, but if you are not in love with them, and let's say you go and tell your partner you are not in love with them, here's how to tell if it's your ego or your intuition, okay? Your intuition, your higher self, your soul will feel so excited. You will start to feel giddy and excited on the inside upon telling them, because your soul will be so happy that you are speaking your truth, okay? Your ego will be sad because your ego, you know, feels bad. You feel bad that you are hurting this person, you are breaking this person's heart potentially, right? By telling them you're no longer in love with them. But your soul, if this person is not meant for you, and your soul gets excited at the thought of telling them, like, oh my God, I'm not in love with you, that's because that is the correct path, is to not be with that person anymore. That was something that happened to me. It was frightening because I was like, my soul was excited when I said it. I was hurt inside because, you know, of the past, and I was hurt for breaking my partner's heart, but I knew that was what was meant for me. Okay, I know it is so hard to split up with somebody that you have spent so many years with. I know it's not easy, and it's not to leave. You're not leaving them for someone else. You're doing it for yourself, and you're doing it to be in alignment with your higher self, with the best version of yourself. The grass is not always greener on the other side, but the grass where you're staying on may not be right for you either. So you have to think about what makes you happy. Like I said before, stop sacrificing your happiness and your life for someone else. You are here to live your life, your happiness. You have this life to live and enjoy it to its fullest. So please listen to your heart and soul, your intuition, use your discernment, meditate to help you have better discernment, and ask your ego to kindly step aside while you work with your higher self and listen to your intuition. Thank you, and God bless.